brilliant speed with vibrant service, vibrant broadband internet.
Speaking of brilliant, it's 10:30, and the show belongs to the brilliant people.
We have 4 brilliant people in here today.
That's right. Who else is coming in?
I know it's you, Woody.
Sure.
Well, welcome to Vibrant You Live. My name is Shane.
I'm Jane.
And I'm Josh.
And our last show, we talked about outages. You know, what causes them, how to be notified by outages, and, you know, what to do to prepare for an outage. We covered accidents, you know, ice on the lines, down trees, lightning, things like that. Even planned outages, right? But one thing we forgot to mention are outages caused by ourselves. So that's what today's show is about. It's we're going to talk about something that not only prevents an outage, but could also save your life. And it's called 811, Call Before You Dig. And Josh is going to start us off by giving us some background.
So when we talk about calling 811, we need to talk about what's really what we're doing is preventing lines from getting hit. And so whenever we're digging under the ground or moving dirt, we need to be calling in that 811.
So digging is like with a shovel.
Wow,
you're going to put a shrub in. You're going to till your garden.
All of the above.
Yeah.
It's not just the construction, the backhoes in the ground. It's all of that.
Yeah, and people think of, oh, it's just when I hire somebody to put a trough in, or you know what? No, it's everything. It's you take a hand shovel or a spade and you're digging in that dirt.
Yeah, or you're doing some, just peeling off a little dirt off the top of the yard, trying to level things out.
Grading it,
Absolutely,
sure.
Yeah. So it's all part of the deal.
Yep.
So make sure.
And why 811 came to be. So Minnesota was a pioneer with the 811 as we know it now. So back in 1986, there was a tragic event. In fact, it was a pipeline accident in Mounds View that caused a deadly explosion and a lot of widespread outage and damage. Because of that incident, in 1987, Minnesota passed a law requiring a one-call system. And then, so we always say, you know, the Gopher ticket, but it's actually called a GSOC, which is Gopher State One Call. And that started in 1988. And then Minnesota was the pioneer, like I said earlier, getting this all up and running. And so at one point, Minnesota, well, every state had their own they had
system.
their own number and stuff, but it wasn't until 2005 that everybody got together and created the 811, and then the Call Before You Dig phone.
And so that's a national number now.
It is a national number now. And then there's a campaign awareness that started in 2007. So dialing 911 connects you to someone local in Minnesota that we're talking about. Or I'm sorry, what did I say?
Yeah, be careful. 911, that'll get you the wrong.
No, there's 411. No, 811, sorry. 811. See, but everybody was paying attention.
Yeah,
so
that's
right. How everybody just whoop there. So basically, who needs to call?
Well, so from what I understand, the person doing the digging needs to make that call.
You bet.
So if you are doing the digging, if you're doing a project yourself, you're maybe moving a fence, or maybe even putting new fence posts in around your yard. Maybe you're putting a flower, you know, into your flower garden and things like that.
Your own sprinkler system.
Yeah, your own sprinkler, you know, one of those invisible dog fence things. So if you're doing that project yourself, then you need to make that call.
You bet.
However, if you hire a contractor to come in and do that project, they need to make a call. And in our case, if you're getting Vibrant Broadband Internet installed, well, then Vibrant needs to make that call, or actually, I think it's our contractors. Isn't that right, Josh?
And why is that? Why do I have to make the call if I'm digging?
Because you are your own contractor. Like if you are doing your own project, you're your own contractor. Okay. And that responsibility is on you. So if you hit a line without calling, you are responsible, and we'll talk about that in a little bit here.
And you can't dig on someone else's line or markings. Or call. You have to dig on your own call.
Yes.
So if another contractor or somebody else called it in, it's not.
Yeah. Let's say
we get that question a lot.
Yeah. So yeah, my contractor called in and I see the flags, I'm just going to start digging myself. No. You cannot do that.
Correct.
Well, you can, but you're liable.
Yeah, right. Yeah, true. And we'll get to that too.
Yeah, not wise.
Right? So when do you call? Well, the timing is specific here. You must call at least 48 hours, 2 business days before digging. And that does not, one day does not include the day you call. So the day you call is not included. It's the next day and the following day that are included in that 2 business day thing. So, for example, if you call on Tuesday, you can start digging on Friday. If you call on Friday, you can start digging the following Wednesday. Okay? And you can either call 811 or you can submit it online. Go for One State and .org, and you can do it that way as well. But you could, if you want to, you could submit a request up to 14 days in advance. So the idea here is to plan ahead. Don't think that, oh, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to start doing this project and make that call, because it's not going to happen. You're going to have to put that project off until after the locates come in. And, especially like sometimes you're thinking, well, this afternoon I'm going to put the flower garden, the new flowers I got in the flower garden. I guess you're not going to be doing that afternoon unless you've called at least 3 or 4 days prior.
Yeah.
So kind of plan ahead. So after you make the call, Josh, then what happens?
Well, you got to provide some details when you're calling them. You got to provide your address, exact dig location, and the type of project you're going to be doing. Then the 811 folks notify utility companies like Vibrant, like Meeker Energy, and they call all the utilities. We all are part of a system that get notified when this ticket goes in, and then the utilities have 48 hours to get that done. And then after that, your utilities are marked, and then it's time to get going. You must once they're located, you really have this like 4-foot window where you can dig on either side of the line. So
okay.
Or on 2 feet on either side of the line. So if you're anywhere within that space, you have to hand dig.
Okay.
So it's important to kind of respect those.
You can use a machine or whatever to, like a trencher or something,
right,
to cut into the yard outside of that 2 feet. But if you get anywhere close in there,
correct, you got to hand dig.
Sure.
And you got to find that utility.
Yeah.
Yep.
How about, like, this is a question that's actually not even on the outline, but flag colors. What do flag colors mean?
Yeah, that's a good question.
So the white flags are the proposed route. So when Meeker Energy or Vibrant is building out a line, we will put white flags that'll say either Meeker Energy or Vibrant, and then each utility has a different color. So blue is the water company, orange is the telecom, and then red is electricity.
Yellow's gas.
Yellow's gas.
Okay.
I learned that when I started at Meeker.
Yeah. Right.
There's a test.
Yeah.
So if there's
Pass that one.
utilities, then they don't get marked, and so that's our job, or you as the homeowner, to try to figure out where your utilities are. And there's some electricians and others that are willing to kind of locate those for you.
So calling 811, they'll bring in all the public utilities.
Correct.
But they won't mark if you have a sprinkler system or if you have a dog fence or whatever. That you have to. So what do you have to do there?
There, I would call an electrician and say, hey, can you help me figure out where my dog fence is, or where my utilities are going out to the garage from the house, or secondary power.
Sniffer tool, or how do they do that?
Well, they have a lot of different ways of doing it. Either looking for the metals, or they'll put a transmitter on that line, and they have tools to find that as well.
So for like a sprinkler system, I've always encouraged people to get a tracer on their water sprinklers, because it's plastic, and so that you can't locate that. You can only locate the sprinkler heads, or get the route or the plan from the person who put the irrigation system in for you. So then you know, because that's one of the problems that we as a utility company have.
So if it's okay, so I have a garden, and I till it every year or whatever. It's already been dug, or I've got a flower bed that I've flowers growing it all the time. I'm just going to replace a flower or add a new one. Do I still need to call?
Always. Well, if you don't want to be responsible, yes, you have to call. So yeah, anytime you're putting a fence in, a deck, a mailbox, pulling up old post holes and replacing the new ones. And the reason why is because, the earth shifts, right? And different things like you had mentioned earlier with the tilling or the grading, that kind of stuff happens. So it's really in the exact same spot, and the past isn't always reliable. You just want to make sure that you're doing due diligence and not to get hurt, and make sure that everything's okay. The lines can be very shallow. Sometimes our electric lines go 4 feet deep. Our vibrant lines can go anywhere from, on a private line, can go anywhere from 10 inches, 12 feet, or not 12 feet, 12 inches.
Yeah.
So, that kind of comes up every now and again. So, and it's a public line, so that would be a locate as well. So,
okay.
But yeah, you just really want to pay attention to what's happening out there, and there are consequences.
So, this is where the responsibility comes in, right? The consequences, safety risks. Obviously, you don't want to hit a gas line or electric line because it could cause fires, explosions. Not only are you going to be inconvenienced, but the whole town could be, right? Your neighbors for sure.
Don't be that neighbor,
right? So it's not just that's not just a simple mistake, right? It's not just oops, I cut my phone line. That's a major deal. So that's one of the consequences. The outages, obviously, the power could go out, the phone, service could go out. I mean, if you cut power, you're cutting emergency services that somebody could need, or who knows what your neighbor, they could have power needs that you don't know about. Maybe some medical stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Well, and not only that, but once it's down, you don't even know when it's going to be.
Right. It's not like somebody can come over in the next 10 minutes and fix it. I mean, it's a major deal, right? And it gets expensive. So if you hit a line, you're responsible. And, I know that we generally say that for us to install somebody, go from the main line of fiber to their home, that cost is roughly $2,000. That's what we invest. And if you cut that line, I mean, it's going to cost you thousands to repair it, So there's that. And then legal consequences. So in Minnesota, it is a violation that you don't call 811 to get the locates, and it could lead to fines and penalties. So, you might think it's your project, but when you hit a line, it becomes everybody's problem.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a lot of, we get calls when I was in the operations side where people would call and, I hit my line. I was just moving some dirt, and lo and behold, they were actually moving a lot of dirt, and they were moving things around, and they hit our line. And unfortunately, it's not the membership's job to fix that. It's really the person that hit it.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're trying to avoid, is that damage that kind of disappoints.
Well, you might be thinking, I got my garden. I'm going to go one width wider with my tiller. And next thing you know, you've got fiber wrapped around the tines.
That's right.
That can be expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's peak digging season right now. We got to be calling in our gopher tickets, 811 before you dig. Make sure you plan ahead. If next weekend you're going to be doing some work and you're planning to get the skid loader out, or just call in that locate ticket right away. It's easy. It's really pretty simple. So, and then wait for the locates to be done. 48
because they generally have to have that done within a couple of days, right?
Yeah, it's 48 hours after the day you call it in. So just plan ahead.
Yep.
So speaking of planning ahead, our next event is going to be the Litchfield Parade of Bands. We are sponsoring that. And so come on out June 16th, starting at 6 p.m. There are food vendors, lots of fun. How many bands do we have? 12.
12 plus
this year?
Litchfield, yeah.
Yep, lots of good stuff. And Vibrant is going to be live streaming that event on the Parade of Bands YouTube channel. So you can just go to Litchfield Parade of Bands for more information on that and to live stream it there.
Yeah.
And then if you have any questions, give us a call, 693-3231, or learn about us at vibrantbroadband.com. Catch the replay on Facebook or YouTube channel. Search for Vibrant Broadband. And then listen live every Wednesday at 10:30 on KLFD.
All right. Thank you, Jeff, for having us. Thank you, audience, for listening. My name is Shane.
I'm Jane.
And I'm Josh.
Tune in next week for another Vibrant You Live.
Brilliant speed with vibrant service. Vibrant broadband internet. Vibrant broadband internet.